All right, welcome back. This is an exciting one. This is a little different than something I've done in the past. It's the same kind of knife, but a little different story, which is that this just got in from DLT Trading. And those of you that are in the Demco community probably know where this is going. So spoiler alert, DLT did a drop recently. Let me get my personal stuff out of here real quick. Got some cool stickers. And make sure I get the receipt out of here. And in that drop were Demco AD20S variants. Now what was interesting is a lot of the recent drops like Blade HQ and a few others had some of the newer variants of blade shape. They had the new slicer shark, as it's called. I think it's good, but I actually prefer the drop point a little bit personally. And I've been on a little bit of a tear trying to find drop point variants. And I checked out on this one and I refreshed the page and this one was still there. And I've been really wanting this right here. I actually, what happened was I sold a bunch of knives to a great guy. He's a subscriber. And I only regretted one. And it was an 80/20 with jade handles. And I hope just now that this is just immediately in front of you, you can understand why, which is, you know, the shark lock is very cool. And to be able to see basically the mechanism that holds the shark lock in the knife, to me is extra cool. Yeah, I'm extremely excited to have another one, even if I don't know how to open it. Twice in a row. Hang on one sec. I need to move my camera situation here. There we go. All right. How cool is that? That's a great looking knife, isn't it? Wow. Look at how, you know, let me get, I'm sure you can tell, like just by looking at it on camera, but let me get my flashlight just so we can, let's play around with this a little bit, because this is just a wild, I'm not like a big natural G10 fan in general, but this one is a little different than most I'm used to, which is because Demco uses a slab for most of the G10. How crazy is that? It's completely translucent. Not completely, I guess that would be the wrong term, but I need to go turn on different. I mean, that's just wild looking. So in the sunlight and stuff, you get some pretty crazy effects going. Look at the shark lock mechanism in there and stuff. Okay, so that's blade out and that's blade in. So that was what I was noticing with the other one. And it just makes a wild, wild knife. So that's why they call it the shark lock. Pretty cool, huh? Let me go throw on one more light here, just so we have a little better lighting. I'm even gonna probably turn on my, that's a lot better. Probably turn on my computer too, just to get the screen shining on it. There we go. Now we got some lighting. So yeah, this just is a really cool configuration. Drop points are much more rare than the shark foot, mostly because I think the shark foot's a better EDC. I think the shark foot is like the best shape sheep foot concept I've seen. Like between any, if I think about like any Warncliffe, sheepfoot, etc. And a big part of that to me is that it has a tip that's effective, but not as dangerous. And I've heard this from multiple other people as well. You're just much less likely to poke and make mistakes with it. And it just works really well for utility cuts and draw cuts. And it's just a great, great, great shape. And a lot of people don't like the look of it. I actually do. I've seen some pretty weird sheep's foot. I'm not a fan of the QSP Penguin as an example. From a looks perspective, this kind of just looks ugly to me. It's a great knife, don't get me wrong. Functionally, it's actually very similar and probably one of the most similar to the Demco. But you can see Demco took that extra time to put one more angle in there. And I think it really improved the overall look, and it looks robust too. Plus you get the slot up there. So anyways, not to digress too much as I tend to do. Super stoked to have gotten that's the first time, I should have said this at the very beginning, first time I've ever landed a drop, first time I've ever paid table price. I've maybe bought some knives at table price secondhand, but everything I bought was secondary market. So, you know, that's really exciting. And it's a really cool blade steel. Like, so this configuration here is a Demco. Let's get the focus. Come on now. There we go. Machine ground, AD20S, LMAX, slotted, drop point, natural G10. That's super cool. So let's put that guy down. And again, I was actually, you know what happened is I went in and I tried to get a couple of variants and I didn't get them. I was a little too slow to check out. I tried to get a Dayglow, which I think is a really cool color also. If you have a chance to get your hands on a Dayglow, it's kind of like this, but yellow. But man, I really like this one. And so I'm sitting there going, do I want to let the community get another one? I was like, you know what? I'm going to go sell a bunch of knives. This is one I really wanted as well. I'm not as attached to this one. I could see myself letting it go at some point. I probably never, I hope I never sell this knife back here. This one is a machine ground AD20S S45VN slotted shark foot natural D10. So S45VN versus the other one has LMAX. Everything else looks very similar. You know, the handle, let's go ahead and get these guys out. And DLT's been awesome. Like, I bought so many knives. I don't know if I think I bought more knives from DLT this year than any other place. I bought a lot from White Mountain Knives, DLT, Blade HQ. I'm not gonna lie, I like some of Knife Center's content and stuff, but I don't really love, and they do some good stuff like in terms of their customer service, but I just don't really love the brand. I can't quite put my finger on that, but they're a little harder to deal with. They're not quite as bro-tastic as some of the other websites. So yeah, they're not harder to deal with. They're just, it's less, it feels more corporate, I guess. Blade HQ is right up there though. And Blade HQ badly blew their Demco drop, so I'm still a little sour at them for how bad their website performed while I was trying to check out and things were just hanging. That was for a lot of people very frustrating. I heard a lot of complaints about that. I think with DLT, no one could complain about the cart, so they could only complain about their own asses not getting a knife in the cart soon enough. Or, you know, it wasn't announced as early or whatever. You could complain however you want, but hey, DLT ran a drop that was technically successful, even if it wasn't, you know, if people didn't get to know about it or didn't like the way it was put together. You can say what you want, but like, at least they had a website that could do what they did. I mean, that's pretty basic, right? If you're gonna do a drop, you better have the ability to handle the traffic. That's just shocking to me because Blade HQ is pretty big. Again, Blade HQ, really like them, really good customer service, good returns. Like that was what I said about my second. It's White Mountain Knives or Blade HQ is probably my number 2 this year behind DLT. Oh man, this is really cool. The AD20S is just such a cool model. I want to weigh these. I want to take a look and just see if we have any variance in the drop point, because this is the first time I've really had the exact, I mean, there are different blade steels, but that cannot account for a very big difference in weight. So it's really the first time I've had like the same exact handles on two different blades, aside from like 80/20.5s. So I'm curious. There's the drop point. 5.45 ounces, very reasonable. Not light by any amount of imagination, but 5.27 on the shark foot. So that was what I was curious about, was how big of a difference it is. It's pretty big. It's a 1/4 ounce, 0.2 ounces. And if you're not familiar, you know, because of that shape that I just mentioned on the shark foot, it's quite a bit like less blade length. Let me get this out of here. This is the case for the clip point variance in the 80/20.5 as well. But you can see this one doesn't even like go to the backspacer, and that one completely overlaps the backspacer, which is a pretty significant difference. You know, that's like not a 1/4 inch, but probably not far off of a 1/4 inch difference. Again, like if I were to EDC one of these two, that's probably what it is. But if I could only own one knife and I'm in the post-apocalyptic world, it's probably this one. As a collector, I get to have these imaginary situations because it's my money and my fun. I always love the Demco factory edges too. Like, they just do a very good job consistently. So I'm gonna pull out a pretty tall piece of paper here and see if it can pass my like most advanced cut test. The slim is supposed to be slim after all, right? I don't know if I'd call it my most advanced cut test, but the one that knives seem to struggle with the most. We'll put the draw point to the test here. Nope. Sometimes if you get like I don't know, this has actually been failing a lot lately. I don't know if something changed in my method or what, but there you go. Told you the shark's foot is what it's all about. Dude, they just put an amazing edge on these things. Not a lot of knives that you can take this thin of a piece of paper off factory. Let's see if they, yeah, same thing. Not quite as good, at least not as consistent. There's part of the knife here that can do it, and part of it appeared like it couldn't. That's I'm pushing that to a very tough standard there to try and cut such a thin slice on a factory edge. You think about the volume these guys have to put out. They can't. A lot of people wonder why one edge or another goes, you know, down. And if you think about what you'd have to do if you had a really, really sharp edge, I don't know. I don't want to try and like get into this too much. I can't say I know the exact details of one versus the other, but I'm just going to say it'd be very hard to deliver to the customer without potential damage and stuff. So, gosh, it's really cool to get these two into the collection. I'm stoked. I really can't believe I'm actually looking at two MSRP priced 80/20S in natural jade. Like, for a long time, you could not get a Demco in that handle color anymore. I couldn't believe I found the other one. It was just some blade forum post. I couldn't believe no one else bought it. It'd been up there for like an hour or two. I'm like, oh my God. I just hit the seller up and bought it, thinking I'd never let it go. And then I kind of put it up there at one of those prices where it's like, well, if it's worth this to you, then I'll let it go. Yeah, and a smart person bought it because I think that one, if I recall correctly, may have had machine ground blade steel on it too. And if you know the 80/20, oh, I said machine ground, but I meant hand etched. I think, no, maybe it was laser etched. I think it was laser etched. I don't think that one was a handwritten blade steel. I don't think I would have let that go if it was. Now I'm wondering if my pan one does or not. It's an interesting question. Don't want to pull any other knives out and compare those. Here, I'll just throw out my EDC because it's right here. There's the 20.5 by comparison. A lot of people I saw post this week, like if you could have one of the 8020Xs, which would it be? The 8020, the 8020S, or the 8020.5? Very consistent that people said the 8020S if I could only have one knife. I think for EDC, myself and many others prefer this just because of the size. I mean, you're 2 ounce lighter knife here, but like in terms of emotional connection and so on, these things are awesome. So that's it for now. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be letting some knives go. By the time you're listening to this, they may be sold, they may not. But it's time for me to whittle down this collection because I got some really, really cool knives and they're not Demcos and they're expensive. So it's time for me to, you know, especially with interest rates where they are, put some of these knives back in the bank, so to say. But you know what I want to do? I will pull out, let's compare really quickly, because this is a knife that's very top of mind for me right now, is the Oz Roosevelt. I've been trying to figure out the best way to pull this out of here. Maybe someone has an opinion of how to do it better than I do. But this to me is like probably the most compelling knife outside of Demco right now, along with Brown. Like Brown, Oz, and Demco. There are not a lot of knives that I like more than what I've seen from those 3 brands. There are a few I'm looking to check out right now. I heard the BBM is an amazing knife. I've heard Holt does some amazing stuff. So I got to get some knives in hand. If you ever want, I'll pay shipping, return. If you ever want to ship a knife out here for me to review, let me know. I actually have a guy that's sending me, I think the first time that someone's not like from a vendor or something like that that's sending me a knife that I'm going to be checking out. But anyways, let's put this up next to this drop point. 3 ounce knife versus a 5.5 ounce knife, so take this with a grain of salt. But this to me is like really caught my attention in terms of a very efficient and cool knife, and I'm just kind of curious how these sort of stack up. You can definitely see you got a lot more blade length here. It's an amazing handle on the Oz. You can choke up into it and just have so much room. You can be back here and it's still actually enough room, but this is really the natural place to hold this knife. That's where you would be. And it's really not even a choke up. It actually is the frame here, right? It's not, you're not just on blade choil. Similar with the Demco, where your choke up point is truly frame choke, and making it quite good. Just 2 really, really nicely put together knives in my opinion. In a lot of ways, like even just taking the 1/4 ounce lighter shark foot is probably a better comparison because it's a little more EDC centric. A lot of people really are all about this because it is an amazing EDC knife. And let me tell you, it is an amazing EDC knife. I don't think this video will be up before the Oz video, so if you haven't seen it, please feel free to check it out. I'm just thoroughly impressed with what these guys are doing. And it's definitely one of these ones I want to start sitting next to the Demco, sitting next to other knives that I think are compelling, and thinking about how it really stacks up in all the elements that I think are important. So thank you to DLT. I doubt anyone from DLT is listening, but if you are, I think you did a great job on this drop. I love how you announced it, not so long before it that it went so bananas, but, give us a little bit of time. There's probably a balance point between what DLT does and what Blade HQ does. And then for having, a good website that worked, and then Demcos, I mean, these knives look perfect as usual. Gosh, I'm super stoked to have them and have actually gotten them direct, like through a website. So I'm the first owner. First time I've been the first owner of a non-Taiwanese Demco. First time I've been the first owner of a US made Demco, and that's a pretty cool moment for someone that's such a big Demco fan like me. But I've never gone to any of the blade shows and stuff. I'm hoping to go to the Portland one coming up this year in 2023. If I can make that work, that's high on my list to try and go have my first experience at a knife show, custom knife show. So hopefully that'll work out. Hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Super stoked to have these, these knives. Gonna graciously give DLT a plug here. Little Demco Shark Lock sticker. And please like, subscribe. It'd be really helpful. Be much appreciated. Comment if there's something you have to say about this. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.